Hey beautiful family. After my last videos, somehow I received, in kind of quick succession, persons asking me what is this light of silence, and persons saying what use is it to enter a state of consciousness. And for some time now I've been seeing people that I know have been following us for a while, and seeing that it would appear to me that some persons are not touching that space either. And so with each world event coming, it's still a state of great anxiety and for some neuroticism based around it. And it's coming because a lot of persons are, in my view, not touching it. They're not touching this light of silence. But it's okay for me to keep saying this, on the presumption that people will know what it feels like, what it is. And this is a difficult thing, because for years I've said, hey, these scriptures are pointing you to it. And the reason I was doing that is, in my experience, we are raised in the West with a cultural attachment to the Abrahamic faiths. And the Abrahamic faiths are there for one purpose. They're a raft to cross the river. Jesus Christ is a raft to help us cross the river of life to the light of silence, to the presence of spirit which is found there and only there. But what people do is they get on the raft and they stay on the raft. And they begin to worship the raft, and they begin to say, you should worship my raft too. Look where it's taking me. Look where it's promised to take me. And they rarely, as a society, do we disembark into the actual presence of spirit, which is where the light of silence is. And you know, the journey to reach there is almost so simple that people can't comprehend it. So when you identify that there is a further state, the problem you have, if I bring it onto this Matrix analogy, which all of us, I think, in the modern culture have seen this movie, you have this character Neo, which is the One, and whilst Neo is living out his identity in the Matrix, this identity which organically society had to give us to monitor us, he becomes unconscious of the outer, is what the movie is saying, the outer identity. And I, in my last video, covered this, that you have these identity of thought and the identity of pure attention, which is sovereign. Now what happens is that we have persons who are unconscious of pure awareness in our children's lives, and so we have teachers who say pay attention, and what they do is they say take your character from the Matrix, take the label that was given to you so you can exist in this municipality, and make it do something so as you pay attention. And when that happens, the child tries to concentrate. And when you try to concentrate, it means you cannot concentrate, so you create this inner conflict. Now the reality is we should be careful how we use our words, because when you say you should pay attention, you can't do that, because attention, the state of attention, is without any thought. If you really want to sit with whole attention on this world around you, I've said for many years that thought can only take you away from it. And when I sit here, to give an analogy I've given before, I can hear the birds singing, I can feel the cool breeze, I can see the beautiful sun coming through the trees, I can hear the background noise, I can feel my bum on this piece of wood, but all of that is occurring right now in this collective state which is pure attention. Now, if I try to pay attention as the character John, then I end up engaging thought, and I take myself away from that collective state of consciousness which is the attention. And as I sit here in my state of just attention, without thought, the character John fades away. He has to, the matrix identity has to fade away. And you unplug from it and you enter into that state of pure attention, sovereign self. The interconnected state, not a concept of thought. Many people agree with this, with their thoughts, but without thought, the experience of it, the experience of the connectivity, the sovereign identity. And that, when you get there, your thought might try to come in and say, but there is this to worry about, but there is that to worry about, but we are going to lose and be imprisoned forever, but what am I going to have for my dinner, but what about that argument I had earlier? And basically this is the identity attacking you. It's your mind attacking you, and it's taking you away from the sovereign attention that you are. Now, I can hear an animal, but I can't see it. Now, hello, little one. Pleasure to see you today. And so, in the state of attention, the great thing is that you are fully in capacity in the present moment. You are fully able, compared to those who are, not in the state of attention. Those who try to pay attention with the character have put something between them and the present moment. And inside that present moment is a subtle connection to a world that many will live not knowing, because they live in the identity of thought. When you live in a state of pure attention, you're awakened. And that's the start of the journey. Because when you are there, you're right here. There's no experiencer as we know it. There's no John feeling attentive. There's no John, there's no thought, what John is, who is paying the attention. You are just attention. And people will muddle it up because John, as a character, can be aware of his surroundings. I can concentrate, but attention allows the pathway for us to have the maximum awareness of this moment anyway. And so for many, it seems just so simple, yet it's so complex. And the very oldest creation story on our planet that we have recorded is that of the Sumerians. And in there they have the two brothers, Enki and Enlil. And Enki says to Enlil, "What have you done? You have created a species, a being that is neither alive nor dead." And to feel alive is to feel full attention, to be full attention. To be dead is to insert the idea of who you are in thought and try to make that pay attention. Now, when you are alive to the moment, then in many of our experiences now, we start to receive guidance. And from the non-state of attention, from the matrix identity, you would say that it's mystic guidance and it's spiritual guidance. But from the state of attention, it just is. It's just your reality. It's just how it is. Your intuition fires. You know, somehow, subtly, that in that moment, which is all you will ever have, that subtle energies are whispering and speaking to you. Now, what it would seem to me that most of us want is an honest and loving and compassionate society. And the reason we can't find it is because we are trying to do it from thought and the identity of thought. And when you try to be loving as the identity that thought gives you, not from pure attention, you can't do it. When you try to be the best and most protective parent or spouse from the thought, instead of as the pure attention, the sovereign self, you can't do it. Because there's always a delay between you and those subtle communications, the intuitive, and also a physical delay between you and the moment. And so the light of silence is this state of pure attention. And when you reach it, this chasm of silence enters or expands from you. And it's almost as if actually it was always there. It's your natural state. And it fills you with such peace and such comfort that you start to be able to generate compassion. And when you go into this space that I'm calling the light of silence, where you find it through this path of being pure attention, not a thought form trying to give attention, but being it, you're so peaceful and nourished by that simple moment that you generate faith and you generate trust and you generate love and compassion. And it's almost a supernatural state to some, because they can't comprehend how you do that, because they would try to do it with the character of thought, and that's impossible. And so, as you sit in that state, and you wait for yourself to blossom, your mind will attack you and tell you, but before we wait for the blossoming, there's stuff we need to do. There's stuff to worry about. There's stuff to fear. And many of us have spent years and years in the chaos of those thoughts. There's stuff to fear, there's stuff to do, there's things to fight. That we have gotten used to the fact that's a normal state. But if your arms were flapping independently all day, every day, you would acknowledge that this is not useful. A person who is sick with some neurological issue will tell you if their hand is shaking, they can't pick stuff up. It's an issue, and they seek to address it. Somehow they seek to fix this. And yet we don't seek to fix the mind doing the same. The mind is moving and flapping all over. And we are so transfixed with it that we become identified with the movement. And it was never meant for us to do that. It was meant to be in the control of who you are with pure attention. It was never meant to be that it drowns out pure attention, the light of silence, the sovereign state, and makes you believe upon that identity as who you are in its entirety, which are the most mentally sick among us, or at least that's the dominant you, not if it's the entire you, even if you're maybe touching into this space where you get the odd twinge and you say, I feel this oneness with things, and I conceptualize with my thought that the trees breathe out what I breathe in, and so there's a unison. But you're still experiencing it through the thought level. And so until you release all of that and you come into that state of connectivity and light of silence, pure attention, then you can't wake up to it. And when you're in that state, you can see people playing games from the mind. You can see the lack of compassion. You can see the fear. You don't need to be told. And when you see it, you realize that you can't fix it with that. You realize that there's a still sanity beyond that identity, and that is where you place your trust, because it just makes sense. It just feels normal and natural. And how can you share love and compassion if you don't feel peace? You can't do it. You know, joy, happiness is peace. You need to be joyful and happy to share love. But we have associated joy and happiness to pleasure. And nothing is more damaging to happiness than the overstimulation of pleasure in the mind. This is how we get addiction. This is how we sit still and there's no happiness because we need to put Netflix on. Because we're left with this incessant noise instead of the light of silence. And so, if you want to go to this place that I reference as the light of silence, you have to first of all go with some trust and know that there might be a little bit for some of you of discomfort at first. And the reason for that is you're going to go and spend time alone with that matrix identity. And when you spend time with that, it's going to throw things at you. And not only that, but many of us, our flesh is hormonally addicted to certain things. Our brains are frequency addicted to television. Our bodies are addicted to the junk food and the hormones it generates within us. And so when you go and sit alone with these things, those things will call you away from there too. But this is all part of the journey. This is stopping the waving arm. This is you healing that, because the mind moving up and down, this would render your arm useless. And the mind moving up and down renders you, your mind, and its capacity useless. So at first you have to go through that, and this is just part of it. And you may feel some discomfort. But eventually, when those impulses are set and they come away, or for some of you it will happen instantaneously in my experience, you will make a connection to this state of attention. And when you get to that connection, you will feel your energy, your awareness of your body, your attention coming from a deeper space. Now as I sit here now, I can sense that attention, but I'm talking to you, and so I'm losing track of it. But I can sense it, it's there, and I can speak from it. But if I try to sit quietly in that attention, we can theoretically say my mind says to me, what will you do later? What will you do from your to-do list? What will you... And I need to do these things. I need to do them, but I'm not doing them right now. And so right now what I need to do is be in that state of attention, in that light of silence where that peace nourishes my body. And I need to charge myself and bring that vitality that is only found there into my being, so it could resonate out into my energy, into what some people call prana, or the chi of your body. You need to recharge that in the light of silence. And so I don't need to worry about those things right now. I don't need that part coming in. I'm in that state of attention, charging up for when I am faced with a task to do. And even when I start to do that task, I can choose to stay connected and be pure attention whilst doing the task. Now, the task in itself is often going to pull you away from pure attention because it can stress you, it can upset you, or it can excite you. So it's a little more different when you're doing something, but it's still the state of pure attention, it's still the light of silence. But as I sit here and I want to sit quietly and be just attention, and my mind does that, then I can identify the mind as separate from my rooting in that peace. And I can then say, the mind in this instance is attacking me. And it's coming, and it's coming, and it's coming at you. And you can just say, no, not now. I refuse to give you attention. I refuse to allow you to enter I refuse to allow you to overtake my senses. I refuse to allow you to take me away from this connection to the constant occurrence and happening that I'm plugged into as pure attention. Not as John paying attention, but as attention. And then the identity of John might come in. I might say, I'm John sitting in the forest paying attention. And I'm immediately not in that state anymore. And so I can say, no, right now I don't require that municipality rooting identity. I need to just keep flowing as attention. I don't need that right now. I'm not John flowing as attention. I'm just the attention. And you'll see, the longer you sit still without your technology, you'll start to learn the mind and what it does. And when you learn the mind and you suss out the difference between concentrating, being aware, and being attention, or as attention state, then you can start finding your anchor back in the attention state, which is the inner stillness. And from all of this is the foundation of a good relationship with spirit. Because if you don't have this, you can't be guided in the correct way. And that is the only truth, because all the rest is coming from the goggles of humanity, the different perceptions of the matrix identity. And you can do this with your children, at the park, cooking their dinner. You don't have to go and sit alone. You can do it there with them. You can give wholehearted attention to what they are doing. And when the mind engages and says, oh, I want to do this, oh, maybe I need to do that, I've got that bill to pay, you drain the vitality from yourself that would allow you to do these tasks with more ease. And so this, to the best of my ability as a starting point, is the light of silence. And this is something I'll start sharing, I think, is I'll start trying to speak from that and about that, because that's the foundation of my relationship with spirit. This is where mystic guidance came. This is where I have had the experience of seeing other worlds and having tangible results in this physical world from those experiences. And it was all rooted in the initial journey of becoming pure attention in the moment and the silence that brings you, and becoming rooted in that identity, which is the truth. It's who we are. It doesn't mean I don't need an identity. It doesn't mean my sons don't need to see me as dad and give me an identity. It just means that while I'm interacting with them as a father, as the founder of a charity, as a YouTuber, the best way I can interact is as pure attention. I can't interact well as John paying attention, because then I'm in that state of thought, and thought gives birth to all manners of chaos. So, I'm sure I might have confused some of you, But how do you describe a state of absolute peace and timelessness with a language that by its very nature forces you to speak in straight lines and incorporate time? God bless, guys. Bye.
Naitwa Viki. Umechoka? Wewe ndio mpasua. Pole, unaitwa nani?
Shamimu.
Shamimu, pole.